Good evening, Assalamu Alaikum, and welcome to the Scoreboard. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports. We start off with the T20 World Cup, and the fiasco between Bangladesh and the ICC continue. But Pakistan has now written to the ICC that they stand in favour of the stance of Bangladesh as well. Political tensions have been triggered, escalating a standoff crisis as well, but Bangladesh is still very firm on their stance. The T20 World Cup crisis worsens now with time running out and no headway that has been achieved by both sides. But then again, the ICC, I think, has once again failed to establish itself as a global governing body for cricket, which stands at a neutral perspective. Nonetheless, more support has been given to BCCI than any other cricket board around the world. And I think that has now raised some serious questions about the integrity of Jay Shah as chairman. And I think I won't shy away from saying that a resignation should be demanded over here from Mr. Jay Shah as well, if he fails to neutralize this situation and find a positive solution to this as well. Then we move on to the 11th edition of the Pakistan Super League, and we of course tell you that the logo and the name has been unveiled for the new franchise of Sialkot. Sialkot Stallions with a Z. That has been finalized. The logo has been revealed as well, and they had to go with Stallions considering the history of Sialkot Stallions in the National T20. For many years they dominated. It had to be a fairy tale in the making, and it almost is as well. I think straight out of a Disney book it seems, but I think fantastic and excitement now for everyone. And of course Kamil Khan, the owner, also said that the franchise belongs to the people. So they had to go with Sialkot Stallions. Then we move on to the South Asian Football Federation Women's Futsal Championship, where Nepal have beaten Pakistan 5-1. It's been a completely one-sided game, and credit to Nepal. I think they were brilliant on this match day as well. Then we of course update you that the Los Angeles Kings have defeated New York Rangers 4-3 after a halt of 4-game winless streak. Fiala scored the goal and provided assist as well. And once again, ice hockey becomes ever so interesting and intense. UEFA Champions League, then your daily dose of football. Inter Milan beat Arsenal 3-1. Arteta has made 7 changes for Arsenal, but Arsenal's win, of course, will seal a top 2 finish in the league phase as well. Of course, then we move on to tennis. The Australian Open 2026, Carlos Alcaraz have beaten Yannick Hanfmann, and Coco Gauff has defeated her opponent and has joined Ariana Sablenka in the 3rd round as well. And then a very unfortunate incident occurred where a yacht crew member died during transatlantic race. He was injured and transferred to a commercial vessel, but later died. The remaining crew on their way to unidentified destination, with the race covering over 3,000 nautical miles. Unfortunately, this member succumbed to his injuries and could not be resuscitated. Unfortunately passed away. So our condolences go out to his teammates and his family in mourning as well. May they find peace in this difficult time. That's what we're discussing. Time now to introduce the guests. First of all, joining us in studios is fellow sports anchor and expert Syed Owais. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you very much for joining us. Also joining us is our sports correspondent and expert Brashna Kasi. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Welcome to the Scoreboard.
Walaikum assalam, Ahmed. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for joining us as well, Brashna. Of course, Pakistan has now, like we highlighted to our viewers as well, come in favor of the stance of Bangladesh. And I think rightly so as well. Brashna, what's your assessment of Pakistan's position at the moment?
Pakistan has sort of like made this matter a regional topic now. It's no longer just affects Bangladesh, I guess, because what Pakistan has done is provide Bangladesh practical support, institutional support within ICC. And I feel like which does affect, ICC's decision, especially, which as great or gets heavily influenced by alliances. So I think ICC will be, right now a bit worried, because whatever decision they do take is going to impact and also risk Pakistan's position, because I feel like we've seen multiple reports of, media reports with, I'm not sure how accurate they were, but with Pakistan, first risking their participation, and now they've written to ICC. It shows that Pakistan does stand with Bangladesh. So I think ICC will now have to tread very carefully, because their reputation is at stake. I think even right now that over 3 weeks have passed, and it's such a failure of cricket diplomacy that both Bangladesh board and ICC have not come up with a resolution. I think they've made a mockery of the T20 World Cup. It's such a huge event, and we are like hardly 3 weeks for the tournament to start, and we still unsure whether Bangladesh will participate or not. So I just hope that the ICC and Bangladesh Cricket Board are able to, solve this matter as soon as possible, because at the end of the day, cricket will come out as a loser.
Well, certainly. I think Owais, Brashna makes a very strong statement, and I think it's a very correct statement that this is the ICC's failure at this moment. And with Pakistan, of course, Pakistan suffered the most because of India's belligerent attitude. And I think no one understands better than Pakistan what kind of politics India has brought into cricket.
It's, I guess, just 2 weeks left for the T20 World Cup coming up, and the biggest question mark is that still there's no hype of the World Cup. That shows there are a lot of bad things going on. I mean, when you talk about the visas issues, when you talk about the one of the oldest test nation, Bangladesh issue going on. But for me, when you come to reality check, I mean, I personally feel so that it's a stunt to make it more delay from the ICC, because obviously the chairman, the RSS ideology is sitting in the headquarters of ICC. So why they're making it more delays, because that you won't have any other option to quit or to join the World Cup, because 2 weeks left on, obviously there are so many things going on. Even I heard, I mean, not confirmed yet, but when you talk about the back end things going on, that Scotland are basically given a go ahead. I mean, just get your preparations done, you will be in the World Cup. So there are a lot of things going on right now, but the biggest thing, when you talk about Bangladesh, I know they have got a strong stance, everything. But like I said, there's even a reality check when you go behind that. Is Bangladesh Cricket Board ready to face the consequences? Why? Because definitely the funds would be cut. There would be your international players would suffer with that.
Yeah, their majority income comes from ICC revenue. Yeah, they enjoy about 4.4% of that.
That's the thing I'm telling on, because obviously if you talk about the Bangladesh Cricket Board, back end you're not that strong as compared to Pakistan Cricket Board. So everything does come in your mind, what's going to happen on. But for me, the scenario, what's going on right now, I clearly see, because even in this platform, we discussed one of the Bangladeshi journalists, Bangladesh would not be traveling. For me, the news what I had from back end was that the Scotland team has been a go-ahead, and they're now preparing for the World Cup to enter.
So no Bangladesh in the World Cup.
I think so. There wouldn't be any Bangladesh, and it's a shame to the ICC. I'm sorry to say. Why? Because just not this. Even if you just go a little bit months back, the handshake issue. Did we see any official statement coming up? You didn't see any official statement coming up. Okay, fine. The Bangladesh stuff, I know that. The India stuff, I know that. Obviously, India dominates in ICC. But when you come to, again, one more reality check, talk about the non-test nations, UAE, Canada, you talk about even Scotland if they're participating in it, you talk about full nations, they have got some players who basically are origin from Pakistan. The grandparents or father might be from Pakistan. Or some are even, they belong from Pakistan. For example, Mohammad Wasim, he belongs from UAE, he's a Pakistani guy. Still, they haven't got the visas to enter in the World Cup. So that's again a big question mark. But the issue is that the big nations like England, Australia, I hope they have some statement coming out, because England, two of the players, Adil Rashid and I guess Rehan, if I'm not wrong, both of them have still not got the visas for India. So why are they quiet? I mean, they need to speak out even. I mean, unfortunately, I know the IPL does play a blackmailing kind of a lobby behind, because whatever if you have 4 players from England, 4 players chunk is given to the English Cricket Board. I know everything. But you need to be to the reality too, I mean, because your team would suffer. It's cricket who's suffering actually. The ideology what you're bringing into cricket in the under-19s, they don't want to shake hands with you. Even with the female cricketers, I would say, they don't want to shake hands with you. So this is not good for cricket, I mean, especially when you talk about expanding the cricket nature in the world. This is the biggest shame what India has been doing on.
Well, absolutely. Now joining us from Bangladesh is cricket commentator Ahmed, who joins us as well, and we're going to ask him this entire fiasco. Ahmed bin Parvez, assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for joining us.
Walaikum assalam. Thanks for having me.
Ahmed, the stalemate continues. We've been saying this again and again. Now Pakistan has come in support of the Bangladeshi stance as well, and rightly so, because I think Pakistan has suffered the most when it comes to bilateral cricket between them and India. So they understand the kind of politics that go into BCCI. How do you see this development now?
Right at the moment, as we speak, I got the news that there was a meeting at ICC, which all the associate nations and as well as representatives from the other test playing nations were present. What I found from the news here in Bangladesh that is being circulated in all mainstream media is that there was a voting in place whether to replace Bangladesh with another team and for the World Cup to go ahead with. And I think that is the majority of the votes fell on that favor. So ICC has apparently given Bangladesh just 24 more hours to decide whether they want to come to India and play the World Cup, or else they'll be replacing Bangladesh with another team, which has been apparently agreed in majority amongst the ICC test playing nations and a few associates as well. So that's the news that I have at the moment. And of course, it wasn't a surprise that something like this would happen, because if it was supposed to be resolved, it would have been resolved 2 weeks earlier, maybe even a month earlier. Imagine what happened on the 4th of January, if just coming back to the timeline of when all of this started. BCB, the first time BCB sent the letter to the ICC regarding their security concerns to play in India and requesting for a replacement venue was on January the 4th. And today is January the 21st. So if you have a look at it, it's been more than 2 weeks and nothing has progressed in terms of, the intent shown by the ICC to actually accommodate Bangladesh's request. It was just a few layers of meetings where ICC kept on reiterating that it's still safe to play in India. You have to go and play in India. And Bangladesh stood still on their stand of not going because security grounds are apparent. And that's exactly the reason why Bangladesh were not wanting to or willing to go to India. So at this standstill, it was obvious that as time flew by, it would be getting more difficult by the day for Bangladesh to actually, participate in this World Cup if they keep to their stance and if ICC doesn't accommodate Bangladesh with another venue in another country. And exactly that's what's happening at the moment. ICC apparently has just given Bangladesh 24 more hours to decide whether they want to go to India, or else they will be replacing Bangladesh with some other team. And you were discussing about the support that Bangladesh are supposed to get from the other nations as well, because if this happens today with Bangladesh, and we've seen Pakistan suffer from it from various other angles in previous years, so why do we think that any other nation would also not face the same consequences if somehow even through non-cricketing reasons there's some kind of rift with those big countries who have a bigger say in ICC's decision making. So that's exactly where we stand at the moment. It's very disappointing. We're having the Bangladesh Premier League at the moment. It's at the qualifier stage now. Game is happening now, and then the final will be on the 23rd. So the sports journalists and enthusiasts are basically engaged in the BPL, and the players are still preparing themselves mentally that if they get a call, they might go to the World Cup because ICC haven't given their final verdict. And right now, I think it would be disappointing for everyone to get this news. Let's just see whether there's another twist to it, or maybe this is something that the mainstream media is publishing, but later on we might get to know that there might be some elements of other things to be added. But let's see. I mean, at the moment things are bleak. Bangladesh are firmly standing their ground, and yes, we've got the news of about the Pakistan Cricket Board also publicly supporting Bangladesh's stand and actually asking the ICC to make some moves regarding all of this happening. And it's disappointing if the majority of votes from ICC goes in favor of this situation where Bangladesh are not being able to go to a certain venue due to security reasons. This is disappointing from obviously a Bangladeshi's end. That's basically what I have to say at the moment.
Well, certainly, but I think this is, a very important development that Ahmed has just shared with us as well. Almost breaking news, Owais. So, you've given us one part of that picture. Ahmed bin Parvez has just confirmed the rest. That majority have voted in favor of that replacement. That means that the ball is once again in the court of Bangladesh in another 24 hours.
I mean, because before this, obviously, we were in one of the platforms, you and me, I mean, we were discussing with one of the senior sports journalists, Moisha, and even he had the news that because the time we were discussing that time, the conference was going on between the ICC meeting was specifically going on. The issues, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm going to be repeating again, I mean, the reality check is that because the diplomacy what India plays through IPL, I mean, everyone knows that because how many players play from each country, that chunk of stuff is given to that cricket board. Obviously, that's a blackmailing lobby. And whatever BCCI says, obviously they'll be doing that, I mean, because they won't go against them. That's the point I said, that Bangladesh keeping everything in their mind, they are standing at one of the perfect stances. Obviously, that should be a stance over here. But we need to even understand as a professional stuff that the consequences, not getting many matches for ICC, your players definitely will feel that restrictions, funding cuts, even the series cut you would get on. So there are a lot of things I would say which basically damages your financial strength.
That test status could be revoked as well at a point.
Can Bangladesh Cricket Board basically have that financial dent with them, or they can just go over through that? So many things are still going on. But for me, if Bangladesh does not come to play in the World Cup, it's the saddest part of the cricket. I mean, because rightly pointed by our brother, I mean, if it's happening with Pakistan, Bangladesh, that means it will happen with anyone. I'm just waiting for one day when it happens with England cricket, when it happens with Australia cricket. What statement comes from them? Because that's important, where you talk about this big three. I mean, unfortunately, it is still there. They are ruling the cricket. I mean, when you talk about that big one who's basically manipulating the game, what statement they give against ICC or against BCCI, that's the day what I'm just waiting for.
Well, absolutely. We'll take this question to Ahmed, of course. Ahmed, the financial repercussions of this, obviously, a majority of the revenue that Bangladesh Cricket Board generates is from the ICC revenue model as well, where they, of course, have a certain percentage. But there is a concern now, and certain sources initially were claiming that some of the players have, voiced their concern because of the financial impact of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very natural reaction. If you're a player, all you want to do is play, and of course, the dignity and pride of your nation is paramount, and it comes first. But in the end of the day, if you are in a certain profession, and if you suddenly realize that everything that has been chalked out for the entire year might be erased just like that, and not because of anything that they've done, they will feel a bit, I think at the moment they're feeling a bit panicked more than anything else. It's a bit of panic that have stricken them. They're not exactly very sure about how things are going to move on, because every preparation was directed towards this T20 World Cup. We had the plans for the 2027 ODI World Cup as well chalked out for our ODI team. The Test team was playing for the Test Championship matches. They were preparing themselves accordingly. Our domestic matches throughout the year, the calendar has been set and everything was supposed to go as it is. But if this is the situation where we might see that a few of those international bilateral series gets chalked out, India, suppose they were supposed to come last year, they're not coming this year. I'm not sure if they're going to come. Apparently, we have a schedule with India for a bilateral series in August, but that doesn't seem like something that might happen. But here, I think this is, of course, a scorecard. This is the sports show. But I think, politics is very, very intertwined with this situation. And I think there are a few instances or situations where, Bangladesh is going to have the general election coming up in February. And I'm not sure after that, when the elected government comes into play, will they have a different kind of an influence in BCB? And will that create some sort of a different kind of dynamics again? That is another question, basically. But at the moment, as we stand, the T20 World Cup is definitely out of question. And the players raising their, some players basically said that we are getting prepared, but since we're not sure, that's where we're feeling that uncertainty, that are we going to go and play or not. So we might have other plans. If you're not going to play, let's have some other plans, some separate plans, things like that. And of course it will take a big dent. I think the Bangladesh Cricket Board, they have calculated more or less what kind of losses they might need to incur in such a situation, and how are they going to actually tackle all of those. But in the end of the day, it's the dignity of your nation on the line. So that's where no compromise can happen. So we will all have to suffer together with the hope that as we stood rightfully for our position, at some point in the future, we will get the kind of support that we deserve. And in the end, maybe, those who are supposed to get punished for, all these unfair doings, will get them down the line. Something of that sort will happen. But at the moment, the only motivation that we have is, as a nation, we'll have to suffer, but we suffer together.
Well, absolutely. And I think it's just, it'll still be a dark day in the history of cricket as we progress on this as well. Thank you very much, Ahmed bin Parvez, for joining us on the Scoreboard. Right, that was Ahmed bin Parvez from Bangladesh, sports commentator. But I think, as Owais gave us that one jigsaw piece of the puzzle, Ahmed bin Parvez adds the rest. That, Brashna, if that is the case, that by majority vote it has been decided to replace Bangladesh now, and they've got 24 hours to respond, and I don't think they'll back down from their stance. with another team entering the World Cup now. What kind of repercussions are we seeing?
Many repercussions. I feel like it was pretty obvious that Bangladesh, going into this fight, they were supposed or bound to face a lot of repercussions because they've taken on two very powerful, dominating bodies. Even I feel like the reason why a lot of cricketing nations do not speak up against BCCI is because they're financially very dominating. A lot of their revenue depends on playing bilateral cricket with India. Cricket Australia was going under losses until last year, until the very reason why they're playing 5-match series with India, both England and Australia, is because of its commercial value. So I feel like Bangladesh will obviously be losing on that, not only, missing out opportunities of, the players participating in leagues like IPL or missing out on bilateral cricket with India. They're also, I feel like, going to miss out on their rankings, low visibility, because I feel like a lot of these players, there's no better platform than a World Cup for a player to showcase their talent. So for Bangladesh players to miss that out because of political reasons, because of geopolitics, I think it is very, very sad. It is sad for cricket as a sport. And I think it's sad because I understand ICC stands to an extent that, they want to sort of put their foot down and assert control and, sort of show their authority, which I would normally support for a governing body that is fair, that is unbiased. But with ICC, we have a precedent, with the Champions Trophy that India had a very similar position. ICC very rightly had given Pakistan the hosting rights, and there was no security threat to India. So I feel like it was a very similar situation, but they the security assessment for India. So I feel like in that case, ICC is in no position to sort of take that away from Bangladesh, because that just proves in writing, in practice, that they are not fair. So I'll be very sad that if Bangladesh, do not participate. I really, really hope that they both come up with some sort of resolution, because at the end of the day, Bangladesh Cricket Board is going to suffer, and I hope that's not the case, especially for smaller cricketing boards. We need to sort of, encourage them, because it is going to be very demoralizing for the players as well. So let's just hope that that's not the case and they do come up with a resolution. Otherwise, I feel like it reflects very poorly on ICC as a governing body.
Well, certainly. Owais, one thing is very particular. Bangladesh has got the same kind of emotional fans we see in this region. At touch, we've seen them more emotional. How do they react to this now with no Bangladesh in the World Cup?
That's a heartbreak. I mean, when you talk about just not the fans, I mean, obviously, as an ex-cricketers, I mean, we love sports. I mean, we want Bangladesh to be the part of it, because it's one of the old cricket boards of cricket. I mean, they have done a lot of things in Asia. I mean, when you talk about the development sector of especially cricket, I mean, when you just talk about the grassroots level, a Bangladesh team has really grafted them well. I mean, even in the under-19s, when you talk about the women's cricket, they have done brilliantly well. But it's unfortunate, like I've been saying from the start of the program, Ahmed Bhai, it's a natural reality that we need to understand. Some things are just on the face and some things are behind the face. What's going on? Because the teams voting against Bangladesh, that shows the lobbying what India has played. I mean, because obviously many teams over here, they won't want that stuff to come to them. I mean, the cut of funds, struggling for finances, struggling for playing international series. So that's the point I said, that Bangladesh really now needs to be careful. I mean, they need to act smart. But what I feel, speaking even to the Bangladesh journalist what we were speaking on, and even the news coming up from Bangladesh, that they are rigid. The stance is good. I mean, they don't want to participate in the World Cup. But again, I'm telling you that the other end, you need to realize one thing, that if you don't participate for the World Cup, the consequences, I mean, of the funds, the playing bilateral series, your players, I mean, struggling for finances, that's the major thing where Bangladesh will have to sit down and speak to the government and speak even to the players. I mean, because players are the prior, I would say, security stuff over there. So they need to speak to them and just clear this stuff. But for me, what I feel is that it's going to be Scotland for Bangladesh.
Well, certainly. But Owais, once again, like I said, what kind of repercussions are you seeing immediately after this? Because that means that we can not see any kind of bilateral cricket going on between India and Bangladesh. We've seen it with Pakistan already, but that definitely means that after this, there's no bilateral cricket between India and Bangladesh, at least for a while.
Obviously, I don't know what's the update of the meeting. I mean, what had been discussed on slow and steady would definitely come out. But I feel one thing, that right now, the Bangladesh team under 19 is playing the under 19 World Cup, and this stuff goes on. I sometimes feel that even they might boycott that under 19 World Cup and get the team to be back to Bangladesh. So there are a lot of things. I mean, we need to just bring into reality when we talk about this. Not having bilateral series, cut off funds. I mean, definitely your cricket board is not that financially strong, who can just go through that isolation and build themselves. I mean, everything you need to keep in your mind. But the stuff going on in India, it's just not about cricket. When you talk about a major events over there, recently the Messi event, when you talk about, if I'm not wrong, it was a badminton event, Ahmed bhai, even that had a problem over there with the foreign players. You talk about the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, I mean, Australian team had an issue over there. The players playing in the ground, I mean, they were hit with the bottles. Several things go there. I mean, so it's in cricket, you guys can play a lobby. When you talk about major sports, when you talk about Olympics, where you're going to be bidding up, definitely the Olympic Association, the sports coming under them, have the umbrella to different sports. I mean, they would be speaking on that. This stuff happens on. So is India safe to get a major tournament? So for me, it's sorry. I mean, they really need to think about it.
Well, Owais has voiced his concern as well, but now we, of course, move on and we tell you that the excitement is once again in the air. The suspense has been eliminated. Sialkot will now be named as Sialkot Stallions going in to their very first edition of the PSL, which will be the 11th of the league in total. And for the very first time, a new franchise being named Sialkot and going with the historic name of Stallions is also something very interesting. Let's take a look. And there you have it, Sialkot Stallions. Yes, Brashna, what would you like to highlight about the name that has been revealed? Of course, they carry on with their legacy.
I mean, it had to be named Stallions. There was just not any other name for Team Sialkot. I, for one, am not surprised. I think they sort of teased fans a lot before, with the name. So it was sort of like hinted that it's going to be named that. Yesterday also, I think the official PSL handle on Instagram followed the page. So I assumed that it was going to be Stallions. But I'm definitely not a fan of this D in the hand of their names. I'm not sure why they had to do that. I'm assuming maybe it's because of, copyright issues or some legal issues. But yeah, let's just hope that, by naming them Stallions, I think the franchise has already sort of like tapped into the local pride and, build on that emotional affinity that a lot of fans have with Sialkot Stallions because they were, one of the most successful T20 sides in Pakistan's domestic circuit. So I think with Sialkot Stallions making an appearance in PSL, it's definitely going to be really exciting.
Well, certainly. Brashna, what kind of excitement is there? We've seen it already, and although the season hasn't even started yet. But with two new identities now, Sialkot have already confirmed that they'll be going with Stallions. And then there's a lot of talk about Shoaib Malik as he's taken his retirement as well, and that career now shifts over to that as well. And I think more than that career shift, it has to do with the fact that now PSL will have an auction. So there is that element of, you might remain, in that lot of unpicked players, you'll be the remainder. So that fear probably would there as well. So this seems like a better option.
I feel like I wouldn't assume Shoaib Malik to have been unpicked, because we do have new additional teams. So there's more hunger, there's more demand for more players currently. And also, I think with auction system, it's like it's a free market, it's like one longer waited time for PSL to make that move because I feel like there's a lot of discussion going on between fans and, players that, what's the difference between auction and a draft system. And I feel like the easiest way to sort of explain that would be, an auction system is if you believe in capitalism, and for PSL, I feel like the kind of league and it or industry that it operates in, it had to adopt a system that is commercially viable. So I feel like an auction system is the right way to go. And with that, I think it is definitely going to be a lot more engaging. With draft system, you sort of depended a lot more on luck. But with auction, I feel like the teams will have a lot more to strategize on. The fans will have a lot more to work on. And I feel like it's going to be very competitive to see different teams, fight for the players they really, really want. And it also makes the competition a bit more fair. So I'm very excited to see that.
Well, certainly, but another thing that we're seeing with the auction, another decision was taken of retention of only 4 players. Franchises wanted 5, PSL said 3, the middle ground was 4 now. How does that change the composition of franchises?
I feel like that's okay because the teams have sort of like built a lot on the talent that they've created over 10 years. So I think retaining 4 players that's exciting, but I feel like gives the team more stability, current teams. And also I think the new teams, they also have an option to, sort of select 4 players before the auction. So I think that sort of balances it out. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how, the team decides upon, the rest of their combinations.
Well, certainly. Well, Owais, I mean, you had this insight as well. You were very excited. And I would say, as you already know, not but as you already know, that it had to be the Stallions.
It had to be. I mean, just refreshed the 1990s because we're the kids of 90s, and that was the moment where we used to say that who's going to be playing for home, and we used to say Sialkot Stallions because one of the most dominating teams in cricket universe. Literally, they have got all the records. Imran Nazir, Rana Naveedul Hassan, you got Syed Yusuf, Shinwari. Then you speak about Shoaib Malik, the legend. I mean, he just retired on a bad day, I would say, because that was the day when Sialkot Stallions today, they announced that they'll be called that Stallions. One thing to just differentiate when you talk about Stallions and Stallions is why they have given a Z at the end is because of the analysis. Because when you go through the online analysis of a team, I mean, the Stallions, obviously, they had a different analysis and this is a new team. So there are cricketing terms where they need to just differentiate that. But when you talk about Stallions, obviously, it's a heartbeat of every Sialkoti and especially every Punjabi, I would say, who basically resides in that area. And it's going to be fun to watch on. And the auction system, that's the point where we used to say on that. It's important because if you want to grab some big players in the market, you need to go through auction
the bigger
system.
question is, are you joining Sialkot Stallions?
Don't know, man.
Well, that's a big question. I think that's a $1 million question at the moment.
I don't know. I mean,
do you have any offer at the moment? From
yeah, I have,
Sialkot?
but let's see.
Let's see. So Owais is just, deferred that because I think he wants to wait and see who will now own Multan Sultans. Then he's going to make this decision with 3 owners and 6 previous owners. So, he'll have a chance to pick that as well. So 8 in total, 5 previous and 3 new owners going forward. But Brashna, let's do a scientific analysis, a hypothesis of the retention. So if you were Lahore Qalandars, who are the 4 players you're retaining this season?
Okay, that's a tough one. Cloud Runners have lately become a very likable team for everyone. I feel like Shaheen is pretty obvious. I think what makes the retentions very interesting is that the teams are only allowed to retain 4 players, but 1 in each category. So how it becomes exciting is whether Shaheen or Fakhr and Haris are going to be in the same category or not. Because if they are placed in the same category, that means Lahore would be only allowed to, retain 1 player. So for now, we don't know players are in which category. So I think it's hard to make a guess. Otherwise, I feel like if we put that aside, definitely, I feel like the core lays in Shaheen and Fakhr, Aris Rauf, that's just the top 3 that I can recall right now.
Let me ball another bouncer at you now. You said Lahore's going to have it tough. I think the most tough decision is going to be for Islamabad United because in platinum categories, they've had Salman Ali Agha, they've got Shadab Khan, they've got Mohammad Nawaz. So they now become in a big spot of bother of who do they want to pick in platinum because you've got the likes of Shadab, Salman Ali Agha, and then you've got Mohammad Nawaz in that same category as well.
And Naseem Shah,
And Naseem Shah, 4 now.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. So 4 in platinum, but only 1 allowed.
Yeah, so I feel like the categories for now are not the same like they were last time. I think they're going to announce the categories for each players. So likely said, but I think the system is going to be fair. It's going to make it very, very difficult for the teams to sort of, choose 1 player. or two players, because I feel like all these players that you named are marquee players. They play for Pakistan's national team, and I think that just makes the competition fair, which means other teams you really, really want to, have those players. It's a fair chance for them to, bid for them in the auction, and that's where the excitement lies. With if Lahore is only allowed to, retain either Shaheen or Fakhr, and if Islamabad is only allowed to retain either Shadab or, Team Shah. So I feel like the other teams that want to get those players, it's good and exciting for them. And also I think fair for the players too, because for them to sort of get into the auction, I think, like you said, it's an open market. The fares, it's a really good system for the players, for the deserving players to get the amount that they deserve. So I feel like good players, the players that are in demand, will definitely will be getting a lot more than what they would get in their, teams that they're currently in.
No, but, to be honest, Brashna, I agree with the new franchises where they suggested that there should be no retentions, because I think it should be an even ground for every team to pick players.
I feel like I would say it's more exciting, definitely, if there were no retentions. But I think it would be a little bit unfair with the teams that are already there, Like I said, they've worked very hard and to sort of, build those teams. So I think declining the number from 8 to 4, I would say they've sort of like found a middle ground. I feel like that's what ICC needs to learn, because I think you sort of need to find a middle ground. So I'm glad that PCB and franchises were able to do that. And I think it's not like the other teams do not have an option to choose players. So I think what balance out.
Well, certainly. Thank you very much, Brashna, for joining us and for your analysis. I think Brashna is right now. A lot of franchises will be in a spot of bother, but the excitement will still remain there, even with just 4 retentions and 1 in each category. But before we move on to something very interesting, let me give you a very, I think, interesting insight into what sources are telling us. And they tell us that Babar Azam and Syed Ayub are ready to leave Peshawar Zalmi.
Yeah, I was shocked. I just got a message. I don't know. Is it not officially? But the sources coming up.
Yellow storm messages.
They definitely might just move on. But when you talk about the retention policy, said, for me, it's not about Islamabad. The biggest challenge is about the 3 times winners, Lahore Qalandars. What retentions they would have, because if for me, when you talk about Lahore Qalandar, you have 4 automatic retentions. What if Shaheen Shah Afridi, Fakhr Zaman, you got Sikandar Raza and Haris Rauf for me.
Yes.
They are the big 4 names for them. It's going to be a big challenge, because I remember 3 or 4 days back when Sameen Rana was in an event with Atif Rana and all the team. So they just asked the general public of Lahore. They said, "Do you want Haris Rauf to be in the Lahore Qalandar?" And the crowd was quite lethal. They said, "No, we don't want to." So they were shocked to hear that. So for me, it won't be a big thing coming up that Haris Rauf might be released. And if he joins Islamabad, it should not be a bad choice.
But if Babar and Saim are set to leave Peshawar Zalmi, sources had already claimed, my sources told me that Saim wants to captain Karachi Kings. So that was on the cards. But an even bigger breaking news than this.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I know you already know, but I have to tell the viewers and fans. I think a lot of people will be shocked upstairs as well that there is likelihood that Babar Azam will be dropped from the World Cup squad now.
I know some of the people sitting up back, one of the best team sitting back, they would be shocked to see, and I think he's going to be dropped off, because the news coming up right now.
So far.
We're not the ones to drop him, but the news coming up, because if you talk about Mark Waugh, one of the legends of game, obviously you don't have any objection with it. He told, I guess it was an interview today, he said that if Sydney Sixers want to win the finals, you need to get Babar Azam rested, because change the combination of your opening department, and they will have to. When you talk about the reality, it was very important when, I know people want him in the World Cup, but when you talk about the reality, what Pakistan Cricket Board and Babar Azam and Sydney Sixers actually had a conversation when he was joining that Sydney Sixers. Why am I saying that? He bats at 1-down position for Pakistan, and everyone knows that. He's opening over there. And the conditions where he's playing, I know it's tough conditions. Asians don't perform there. But when you talk about when you talk about the, I would say, the match awareness, and especially the pressure what he's getting right now, it would dent him in the World Cup. It's not going to be a good sign for Pakistan. Why? even I can tell you, because when you talk about Sri Lanka, definitely there would be some matches that would be 13, 14 overs, might be 12 overs, might be 10 overs. That's the point what Pakistan's strategy would be, because Salman Ali Agha, the way he played on that day, I hope he plays every match like
So
that.
let's just summarize this. Obviously, we just have to take another update from you as well, but let's just summarize this. For Syed Mohammad Owais, Babar Azam in the World Cup squad, yes or no?
For me, no.
No.
I know.
Simple as that. Thank you very much, Owais. But now we also have to give our viewers an update of football, where Pakistan Futsal team has lost to Nepal. The women's team were beaten 5-1. And I was just asking Owais before the show as well, that is Nepal this good?
Yeah, I mean, when it talk about the Pakistan futsal, one thing is good, that at least there's something in it. I mean, the women are there to play futsal, the men's are there to play futsal. It has not been many quiet years. When you talk about 30, 40 years of history of futsal in Pakistan, it has never been. So, I mean, it's a new team for this futsal championship. You play matches there, Pakistan comes back. For example, when you talk about the men's team, I mean, they were playing, I guess, yesterday, and it was 2-0 in first half when they were playing Nepal. They came back strong in the second half. I mean, they drew that match against Nepal.
Right.
When you talk about today's match, unfortunately it happened on, but we need to understand one thing. Nepal as a team, they're good. They have been playing a lot of football from past many years. I mean, the bilateral series, I would say. So it would take some time.
Absolutely. But no Babar Azam in the World Cup.
I know, but the people upstairs, they won't like, man.
You have to stick with your statement. It's reality now.
I'm with my statement.
I remember the tagline as well. You can either win the World Cup or you can have Babar Azam.
Don't tell, man. She won't be sending the team, man.
Well, thank you very much, Owais, for joining us. That wraps up this edition of the Scoreboard. From all of us here at Pakistan TV, it's goodbye for now.